Did you know that Americans leave on average as much as $10 billion in Social Security benefits because they're unclaimed? The reason is there's a lot more to Social Security than you realize. Claiming benefits is being so complicated, even the smartest investors make mistakes that cost a small fortune. So even the average retiree can get shorted by tens of thousands of dollars. It's true. I've seen it. We're going to talk about that today.
Welcome to the Ask Brad Show. Be prepared to hear ideas, concepts, and strategies that may challenge the way you were taught to think about saving and investing for retirement. It's time to roll up our sleeves and get to it. And now, the host of the Ask Brad Show, here's Brad Williams.
Well, thanks for tuning in. Today, we're going to help you avoid become one of the millions of Americans that don't get the Social Security benefits they're entitled to. Most people have this preconceived idea about Social Security. What they don't know is there's a lot more at stake than their benefits. It's not just them. It's spousal benefits, Medicare premiums you pay, and a lot more than that. If you make one wrong move here, it's expensive. So today's show, we're going to reveal 8 surprising things you don't know about Social Security, including some strategies that are little known that can boost your benefits for not only you, but your spouse, and can help you prevent your Medicare premiums from going through the roof. Plus strategies, get this, to help you avoid taxes on as much as 85% of your Social Security benefits. Most people don't realize their benefits are worth a lot more than they think. Did you know even an average earner, Social Security benefits could equal up to about $750,000 in total lifetime benefits? So when you think about that with you and your spouse, that could be as much as $1.5 million. That's a lot of money. So I would think you'd want to get it right. Now, when you look at Social Security, the most impact is at the lower income levels, and then the middle get more, and then the upper get less. So when you look at this, when I chart this out for folks and they see that, you have that initial impact of dollars contributed to Social Security, and then that second tier. It's a 3-tier system. So if you're in the upper tier, you want to make sure that since you contributed so much that you're getting the maximum benefit. So when I look at working with a client and we really start at Social Security planning, because that's one of those really critical pillars of building a good plan. So the foundation is Social Security, and then we build from there. And so timing is more than you think. When we look at how and when you claim your benefit, it does impact the size of your benefit check. What people don't realize that this could trigger taxes, double your Medicare premiums, could wipe out spousal benefits. There's a lot of trap doors that you need to know about when you're going into retirement. So it's critical to do it right. And at Brad Williams Financial, we've been doing financial planning for people just like you for over 31 years. But what I've seen over time is a lot of people make mistakes because they don't go to someone who understands Social Security and has the tools to show you the numbers so that you don't make the mistakes that so many make. There's one client that I can think of. She's getting $1,510 per month per life. But if she had waited, she could have had $2,885 a month. So putting that off to 70 can make a lot of difference. There could be some strategies you want to use. Maybe if you're quitting work at 65 and you can take money out of your IRA, it may make sense to defer that Social Security to get that 8% retirement income credit. So as it works, when you're 62, you can take it out early, but you're deeply discounted on that. And then that discount starts dropping off up to your full retirement age, which most people today is 66 and change. And then once you hit full retirement age, you get that 8% deferred retirement credit. And that's for life, folks. Now, the 8% doesn't count toward your spouse, but waiting to full retirement age does. So when you think about that, that's a lifetime decision, and it has a lot of implications. So make sure you make the right move. So if you're right now thinking about claiming Social Security benefits, you might want to stop and make sure you're not on the verge of making a mistake that could cost you a lot of money. When you look at the impact it has on taxes, Medicare, spousal benefits, what I do is I do a personalized, customized Social Security analysis. Now, a lot of firms charge money for that. I don't charge a dime. What I do in that 5-point analysis is look at the precise timing of when to take your benefits, when you're going to get the most, a trick for boosting spousal benefits, how you can avoid sending your Medicare premiums through the roof, and strategies to minimize and maybe even possibly eliminate taxes on your benefits, and to find out if you're eligible for additional benefits that could mean thousands to you. So if you want to be one of the first 5 callers right now at 844-343-6048, that's 844-343-6048, and you'll qualify for that free benefits analysis, and we can get that out to you. Just call in, we'll tell you how you can get that. So, when I opened the show, I mentioned something about $10 billion, and that came from a Forbes magazine article, that those are the benefits that go unclaimed every year. And so we're talking today about surprising benefits you may not know about Social Security, and when we look at also how it's taxed, how you can avoid paying taxes on up to 85% of your benefits. So when we look at how that's calculated, that's one of Social Security's big gotchas. There's really 3 of Social Security's big gotchas. One of them is paying tax on 85% of your benefit, and most people don't realize. Now, what I'm talking about, folks, I'm not saying an 85% tax. I'm saying having 85% of your benefits counted towards taxation. So if you haven't taken Social Security, you still can do some things about it. And, if you're already taking it, in your past year, there's not much you can do, but looking at Social Security as a foundation is really important because it can affect taxes on all your other income too. So this is something you want to avoid. Now, since we're talking about taxes, let's talk about how you can lower your Social Security taxes. And U.S. News and World Report put out a report that said stay below the thresholds. And, of course, the thresholds are changing with Trump's tax law. Your CPA can help you with that. I've got a handy tax cheat sheet that I hand out that will help with that equation. Manage your other retirement income sources. And this is critical. I have spoken to so many other advisors in my industry that really don't have a way to calculate maximum benefits with Social Security. There's some software now that does a really good job that I use is like I mentioned earlier, a primary tool when we get started. So that's when the questions of when to draw. Do you wait till you're 70? Do you get it now? It's knowing the numbers. To me, it's all about the numbers. So when we look at when to start taking it, we can take into account, as I mentioned earlier, taking IRA withdrawals to get you to 70 and what impact that's going to have on taxes. What happens when you start having to take your required minimum distributions? So what you don't want to do is get to that point where you're right at retirement and say, I need to figure out what I'm going to do with my Social Security. And then you're in that pinch where you got to make a hurried decision and you may make a mistake. Now, one other strategy could be systematic Roth conversions as you're getting close to retirement. But before you do that, it's really good to sit down with a professional, someone who understands this, and help them let them help you calculate that in lieu of the tax changes we've got. That's real key. Another gotcha is the Social Security taxes when you're receiving it. So you might want to have taxes withheld, calculating those things so you don't get burned when comes tax time. Another thing is, Social Security can withhold benefits depending on when you claim. Claiming your benefits before full retirement, like I mentioned earlier, costs you money. And it not only costs you money, it costs your spouse money, because their benefit's going to be based on when you took yours and the benefit that you're receiving. So remember that, because that's going to be critical. There was a Motley Fool article said that if you won't reach your full retirement age in 2018, the Social Security Administration is allowed to withhold $1 in benefit for every $2 in earned income above $17,040 in income. Now, the exception to that is the year you retire, or in the year you start taking your benefits. That goes up to one of $3 for every $45,360 of income. So this is really important. A lot of people want to take their Social Security early, and they don't realize that if they're going to continue working in any way, they better make sure they watch their income, because it could cause their Social Security benefits to be changed based on their income. So again, what we're talking about here with Social Security is being in control, making sure you make the right decisions based on solid information. So just keep that in mind. As I mentioned earlier about our 5-point Social Security analysis, a lot of firms, like I said, charge for that. But in this report, it's going to tell you the optimum time, the earliest time, and it'll show you those break-even points to figure out what happens when you wait. When is that point that you break even, that it makes sense, and now you're living on that extra money the rest of your life. So, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to give this report out to the first 5 callers. 844-343-6048. That's 844-343-6048. Just ask for the free Social Security claiming strategy report, and we'll talk to you how to get that. Our next segment, I'm going to talk about what if you've already claimed Social Security benefits. Can you make any changes? There's a little known loophole that can give you, for you golfers out there, a mulligan. So stay tuned.
Claiming Social Security at the wrong age may reduce your benefit by up to 57%. For your free commissioned report on Social Security maximization, call 844-343-6048. That's 844-343-6048. Or visit us online at AskBradShow.com. That's AskBradShow.com. Call now for your free report. Claiming the wrong strategy could cost you tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in lifetime benefits. Make sure you're getting the most benefits you can. For your free commissioned report on Social Security maximization, call 844-343-6048. That's 844-343-6048. Or visit us online at AskBradShow.com. That's AskBradShow.com. Call now for your free report.
This is Brad Williams, and I have been privileged to have been an instructor over the last 12 years or so at the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute at the University of Alabama in Huntsville. They have some great course offerings. I'm currently teaching a course that I've written and taught for many years, Changing Face of Retirement in the 21st Century. But that's not all of the courses there. You can learn languages. You can learn hobbies, travel. There are so many things that you can get out of these courses they offer at the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute. So check it out today and come keep your brain working.
For more information on the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute, call 256-824-6183. That's 256-824-6183. Or email olli.info@uah.edu. The Osher Lifelong Learning Institute. Come keep your brain working.
Welcome back. You probably know that how and when you claim Social Security can have a significant impact on the size of your check, especially if you've been listening so far. But it could trigger an avalanche of taxes, send your Medicare premiums through the roof, and wipe out your spousal benefits. I mean, that's a lot of money. It could be tens of thousands of dollars or more. I want to welcome you back. This is Brad Williams again, and we're talking about 8 surprising things you don't know about Social Security that could cost you a small fortune. Now, in this segment, we're going to talk about how relying on a one-size-fits-all strategy doesn't make sense, and one loophole that could reverse a mistake if you've already claimed your benefits. Now, here's the 5th one of the 8. Once you claim your benefits, remember this, there's no turning back. There is limited exception, though. Claiming Social Security benefits is what I was mentioning to you, the foundational principle of building retirement income. Because the biggest concern of people is not outliving their money. So you want to get maximum income to have the most comfortable lifestyle you can when you retire. So that's why you got to be careful when you claim Social Security, because you're stuck with that decision no matter how bad and how rough it is. So make sure you get it right from the start. Now, one exception to that, you're allowed a mulligan. There's a do-over. If you regret claiming benefits, that's the key. You got to do it early. So within 12 months of receiving the first benefit, if you'll file SSA 521 or request for withdrawal of application, that's the key to doing it. Now, there is a catch. You only have 1 year to taking your claiming decision back. Now, I'm going to tell you a story about Donna. Now, it was longer than a year, and she couldn't undo it because she met me after that. And one last catch is you have to repay every cent of benefits you received, even if you're going to a higher amount. Even if you say, well, geez, I was eligible for more. Why don't you just give me the extra $200 or $500 for 10 months and that'd be it? No, you got to pay everything back within that period, and then they'll send you a better benefit check. So doing the do-over, if you've calculated it wrong, could be a good windfall, could mean a lot for your spouse, but you don't know that until we run the numbers. So, you may end up back in the workforce, and something may happen to the family, allows you, where you have to go back in the workforce within that time, and it allows you to erase those benefits and start them growing again. So that's key. So again, as I mentioned before, if you're just looking, I'm full retirement age, it's time to claim benefits, that could get you in trouble. Where we used to be in this is because we didn't have software that does what it does today. I think a lot of advisors in the past just kind of looked at it as a longevity question. If you and your family have long lives, then might be better to wait. If you don't, go ahead and take it early. That's the key. Just making sure you make the right choice up front. Really, the bottom line is there are hundreds of different strategies for claiming Social Security, and really only one of them works best for you. And remember, it ripples through time, because the decision you make when you claim Social Security is going to affect you and your spouse for the rest of your lives. Because, as I mentioned earlier, if you're the high income earner and your spouse is going to be relying on your benefit to get that additional amount when you're no longer there, when you take your benefit has everything to do with the amount of benefit they have. So just keep that in mind. So when you go from 62 to full retirement age, you get an increase every year in that, because you've been discounted down to age 62. So when you get to full retirement age, you might look at that as a baseline. After that, then you have that 8% deferred retirement credit. Now, your spouse doesn't get credit for that, but they get everything up to full retirement age. So you need to make sure that you make the right decision when you claim it, because it does affect your spouse. Now, another thing is people say, well, I'm divorced. How does that impact me? Well, you can claim benefits from your previous spouse. If you were married at least 10 years and you're not remarried, you can claim under your spouse. So now they have no say in it, and it doesn't affect their benefit. It's just divorced people have a different strategy. There's a different strategy there. So as I mentioned before, what I look at is the optimal strategy, the earliest strategy, and everything in between. So that's where, before you make that Social Security decision, making sure that you got the numbers. And that's where that free Social Security analysis that I provide comes in handy. I mean, a lot of people charge hundreds of dollars for it. It does things like give you tricks to boost spousal benefits, because a lot of people don't realize their Medicare premiums are affected by their taxation and their income levels. So just make sure you're making the right decision so you're not costing yourself a bunch of money. So again, that free Social Security analysis available to the first 5 callers, 844-343-6048, and we'll be back in a minute.
Investing in the stock market these days is like riding a roller coaster. Leaving a place of safety, get on the coaster, hear the clickety-clack as you experience anticipation climbing to the top of the hill, followed by sheer panic as you plummet back to the earth, hoping you stay on track. You might be brave enough to repeat the process several times, going up and down, but never achieving higher highs and accomplishing nothing but anticipation followed by fear. The stock market has been doing this same ride of volatility with no real growth. Proper education, though, can help you find a better way to grow your money during these times.
Call 844-343-6048. That's 844-343-6048. If you've missed any of today's program or you'd need more information, we're here for you 24/7 online. Visit AskBradShow.com. That's AskBradShow.com.
Welcome back. This is Brad Williams, and today we're talking about the 8 surprising things you don't know about Social Security that could cost you a small fortune. Next up, I want to talk about mistakes claiming Social Security benefits that could cost you a lot. If you're over 50, you need to know these. You may not be right at retirement, but if you're over 50, you need to know these. So you need to start thinking about it. Spousal benefits, we're going to get back to that. It affects you and your spouse when you claim. And I can't stress that enough, because some of the biggest mistakes I've seen is people have come in and begun working with me, and we look at some of the decisions they made in the past. They didn't realize when they claimed at 62 what impact it was going to have on their spouse. We also talked about divorce benefits. You can claim Social Security based on a previous spouse. As long as you were married 10 years, you're not remarried. You got to be 62 to file. But spouses and ex-spouses, that's a critical planning tool for those that it affect. Again, as we've gone through this, remember, there's a lot of pitfalls in claiming Social Security. And it's important to work with someone who is going to give you that data so you can make the right decision for you. And a lot of that comes from, do you need the income early? Can you wait? Are there other sources of income you can get to help you delay Social Security so you can get that full retirement benefit at age 70 and take advantage of those 8% deferred retirement credits? The number 8 thing that I think is very important is that when you call Social Security, they really cannot give you advice on when to claim benefits. Okay? So you've got to understand that all they can do is answer your questions. They're not there to provide you advice. Don't expect it. And that's really not their job. They're there to tell you what your benefits are. When you get to full retirement age, they may say, well, there's no longer a cap on your earnings. And you may say, okay, well, let me go ahead and take it. But if you don't know about the 8% deferred retirement credit, then you leave it on the table. So, again, what I think is important is the fact that you've got the data, it's part of your plan, and that you've examined what the numbers mean, how they affect you, how they affect your spouse, how they affect your taxation, how they affect taxation on your IRAs and RMDs, what strategies can you use to maximize Social Security and minimize taxes. All these there's tools available to show you these numbers to help you make the right decision. So I hope you got some good information out of our Social Security strategies. And again, for the first 5 callers, we're going to give you a free, personalized, customized Social Security timing report. Just call 844-343-6048. That's 844-343-6048.
Claiming Social Security at the wrong age may reduce your benefit by up to 57%. For your free commissioned report on Social Security maximization, call 844-343-6048. That's 844-343-6048. Or visit us online at AskBradShow.com. That's AskBradShow.com. Call now for your free report. Claiming the wrong strategy could cost you tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in lifetime benefits. Make sure you're getting the most benefits you can. For your free commissioned report on Social Security maximization, call 844-343-6048. That's 844-343-6048. Or visit us online at AskBradShow.com. That's AskBradShow.com. Call now for your free report. Thanks for listening to our show today. In retirement, you only get one chance to get it right, and we know that proper information leads to informed decisions. And that's why we hold free informational workshops in our area every month. Topics like Social Security, RMDs, the latest retirement tax strategies, IRAs, estate planning, and so much more. For dates and times of the next free workshop in your area, just pick up the phone. Give us a call today. 844-343-6048. That's 844-343-6048. Or visit us online at AskBradShow.com. That's AskBradShow.com.
You know, the financial crisis, 2008, kicked off some unprecedented emergency measures that are going to have a long-term depressive effect on growth. And why is that? Well, with the unprecedented printing of money and the expansion of the money supply to get us through those tough times, we're now going to spend years getting out of that. So today, I want to talk about the 5 realities of today, and then I'm going to get into the 7 pillars of wealth. When we had the crash in 2008, we had some really unprecedented experimentation going on through the Federal Reserve of nearly zero, and for some time, short-term rates were at zero. And we had the money supply expand hugely to create liquidity so that it would stimulate the economy. You know, in the past, the Federal Reserve has always looked at injecting cash in the economy in a tough time It's kind of a pump primer. I remember years ago when I worked as a delivery guy for a drugstore, we had an old Ford pickup truck. And on really cold mornings, we'd drop a little ether in the carburetor and it would fire that thing up and get it going. And that's kind of how the Federal Reserve was. Well, the problem is they turned what should have been a shot of adrenaline of money into the economy to get it going. They turned it into an IV. And now we have a massive amount of debt and a lot of things that the Federal Reserve and our Treasury Department are going to have to do to come out of that to keep us a healthy economy for the long term. So, that first reality of the 5 realities I mentioned is that financial crisis kicked off unprecedented emergency measures that are going to have long-term depressive growth on the economy. So that's number one. I think second, we've got such technology now, and it's causing high-speed trading, and there's a lot of engineered financial tools now to enhance and multiply risk. A lot of derivatives. Now, derivatives can be positive, so don't always look at derivatives as negative. For example, if let's say I use a lot of fuel in my business, I own a trucking company, and I'm going to buy just enormous amounts of fuel, and fuel's at a reasonable price. Well, I may want to buy some options or some kind of a hedge against future increase in fuel prices so that I can manage that expense better. Or if let's say I'm a company that does business overseas, and it allows me to do maybe some currency trading there to make sure that if I've signed a long-term contract with a company and I'm going to get X amount of dollars per every one of the items I manufacture for them, that currency changes are not going to erase all my profits. So derivatives can be good when used properly, but they are being used on a massive scale today. Some of the books that I've read about that talk about things like the uptick rule. It used to be before you could short a stock, the stock had to tick up. And a couple of years, I think it was 2006, before the financial crisis, they got rid of that uptick rule, which means that people can start shorting stocks as it's going down. Well, that's like piling on. And so that had a tremendous effect when the stock market started crashing of all these derivatives coming into play in that respect. So I don't know if how many of y'all remember the flash crash that we experienced. I think it was in 2012, where some program trading things kicked in and it caused the markets to tumble one day. And nobody could figure out why, except it was those program trading tools. So technology is a good thing, but it has its negatives too. And we need to take that in mind. I think another thing is the nation's getting older, and that has its impact. We've got higher medical costs. I think one of the big things is when we look at the solvency of Social Security, and I've done several shows on Social Security, but when Social Security first started, you had approximately 42 workers for every recipient. Actuarially, that's pretty sound. One thing is Social Security was set to pay out at 65 and the average life expectancy was 62. So they had already programmed a little cushion in there where, you were going to be past the average life expectancy before you could get benefits. Now, the problem with that today is that medical technology is allowing us to live longer. Life's gotten a lot easier. And so people are getting way past that. Now the problem we have is that at this point in time, we've got 3 workers for every recipient. Now think about that, folks. We've gone from 42 workers per recipient to 3 workers per recipient. Pretty significant change. In fact, I've often made the offhand comment that if Social Security were an insurance company, the regulators probably would have shut it down already. But it's a pay-as-you-go system from taxes, and it's become a foundation of our retirement for so many people, that at least that initial foundation, that is too critical to take away. So they're going to have to do some things with it, probably higher taxes, full retirement age, things like that. Again, what we're talking about here is being in control, making sure you make the right decisions based on solid information. So we're going to give this report out to the first 5 callers. 844-343-6048. You know, a lot of firms, like I said, charge for that. So, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to give this report out to the first 5 callers. 844-343-6048. That's 844-343-6048. And we'll talk to you how to get that. When we come back, we're going to finish, we're going to talk about our 5 realities of today and then get into 7 pillars of wealth.
Investing in the stock market these days is like riding a roller coaster. Leaving a place of safety, get on the coaster, hear the clickety-clack as you experience anticipation climbing to the top of the hill, followed by sheer panic as you plummet back to the earth, hoping you stay on track. You might be brave enough to repeat the process several times, going up and down, but never achieving higher highs and accomplishing nothing but anticipation followed by fear. The stock market has been doing this same ride of volatility with no real growth. Proper education, though, can help you find a better way to grow your money during these times.
Call 844-343-6048. That's 844-343-6048.
This is Brad Williams, and I have been privileged to have been an instructor over the last 12 years or so at the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute at the University of Alabama in Huntsville. They have some great course offerings. I'm currently teaching a course that I've written and taught for many years, Changing Face of Retirement in the 21st Century. But that's not all of the courses there. You can learn languages. You can learn hobbies, travel. There are so many things that you can get out of these courses they offer at the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute. So check it out today and come keep your brain working.
For more information on the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute, call 256-824-6183. That's 256-824-6183. Or email olli.info@uah.edu. The Osher Lifelong Learning Institute. Come keep your brain working.
Well, I talked about the 5 realities of today, and I mentioned that the financial crisis in 2008 kicked off some unprecedented measures that, with technology, high-speed trading, and engineered financial tools, are really multiplying risk. Our nation's getting older. The impact that's having on Social Security with only 3 workers per recipient versus 42 at the start. I think probably one thing that Americans are going to have to get used to is we're no longer the undisputed center of the economic universe. We've got China's a powerhouse, India's coming on board, Europe. We're not the only one that calls the shots anymore. When you really look back in time and you think of World War II, we were pretty much the only industrialized economy that wasn't in shambles, literally in shambles from bombing and war. And we had already been on a war footing. So as the Marshall Plan kicked in and money was being sent to rebuild these economies, how many, we should be proud of our country. How many countries conquer a nation and then spend all that money to rebuild it, not to reap the benefits from them and steal it from them, but to give it to them and to create peace. And that's what the Marshall Plan did. But what that meant was that, the cars were being made here, and they were made here for quite a while without much competition until Japanese kicked in. Of course, the Germans have always made fine automobiles. So we're no longer the center of the universe. In fact, what I would posit to you is that a lot of people think that the financial capital of the world is New York. I would say it's Washington, because New York may be investing the money, but Washington's spending it. The next one would be the sandwich generation, because this is a reality of today, is that we have families now that people are taking care of their aging parents as well as possibly children or grandchildren. And that has changed. Families aren't the unit they used to be, not necessarily because they're not close, but they might not be physically close. I know my grandmother had to have care. She lived to be 99 3/4, and she had 10 children. And she had gone from child to child for the last few years of her life, ended up with one, stayed pretty much there because she liked it there, because it was out in the country. But there was a caregiving network of stay-at-home wives and people that, her daughters that could take care of her, or her sons' wives. So that's a reality of today, is that we've got a sandwich generation, and that's changing. So that brings on financial responsibilities that weren't there before. And now it's all about money. It used to be just about a network of caregivers in the family, but now it's paid caregivers and assisted living and nursing homes and those things that 100 years ago really didn't exist in large measure that we have now. So those are the 5 realities we've got to deal with today. Now I'd like to transition into what I'd like to call the 7 pillars of wealth. These are things, just remember the impact you have on future generations, because your family plays a significant role in the financial life of those who come after them. I would like to think that some of the things I've taught my daughters and I'm teaching my stepson and stepdaughter are going to help them in life. And teaching them work ethic, academic achievement, financial discipline, participation in the workforce is a big one. So these are very important for wealth, because it's having those skills to be able to achieve things academically, to understand finances, and the fact that money just doesn't grow on trees. One thing about children is they just think, well, can you buy me this? And they don't realize what goes into making that money. Now they come to realize that you hopefully they come to realize. I know some families are experiencing the negative side of that, but that's important. And then participation in the workforce in whatever manner is productive for that particular person. But getting them started early, I think one of the negatives in today's economy is, when I was a kid, just about everybody I knew had a part-time job in one way or another, transitioning in high school. They may not have worked the whole time, but, from time, moved in one, maybe they had a little break. I know I was one that constantly had a job because I just enjoyed doing different things. But having that employment is that foundation for future success. And now, especially in the last 10 years or so, with jobs being scarce, there were a lot of adults and older adults in jobs that used to be for teens. And so those teens weren't getting the benefit of that entry-level position to get them in the workforce. Second thing would be common sense. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. I mean, we look at Bernie Madoff and what he did. There were regulators in the SEC that were saying that he needed to be looked at. He couldn't possibly be doing the things he's claiming. But powers to be who knew him said, no, Bernie's a good guy. Leave him alone. And then look what happened. So when you look at what he did, taking new money in and paying dividends to the older investors, or the ones that have been with him longer, to keep them satisfied, you got to constantly bring in new money, and pretty soon that money runs out. It's kind of like what Margaret Thatcher said about socialism. Is the problem is pretty soon you run out of other people's money. Well, that's kind of how Bernie Madoff was. Again, what we're talking about here is being in control, making sure you make the right decisions based on solid information. So we're going to give this report out to the first 5 callers, 844-343-6048. A lot of firms, like I said, charge for that. So, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to give this report out to the first 5 callers. 844-343-6048. That's 844-343-6048. And we'll talk to you how to get that.
Claiming Social Security at the wrong age may reduce your benefit by up to 57%. For your free commissioned report on Social Security maximization, call 844-343-6048. That's 844-343-6048. Or visit us online at AskBradShow.com. That's AskBradShow.com. Call now for your free report. Claiming the wrong strategy could cost you tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars in lifetime benefits. Make sure you're getting the most benefits you can. For your free commissioned report on Social Security maximization, call 844-343-6048. That's 844-343-6048. Or visit us online at AskBradShow.com. That's AskBradShow.com. Call now for your free report. Thanks for listening to our show today. In retirement, you only get one chance to get it right, and we know that proper information leads to informed decisions. And that's why we hold free informational workshops in our area every month. Topics like Social Security, RMDs, the latest retirement tax strategies, IRAs, estate planning, and so much more. For dates and times of the next free workshop in your area, just pick up the phone. Give us a call today. 844-343-6048. That's 844-343-6048. Or visit us online at AskBradShow.com. That's AskBradShow.com.
Welcome back. The next thing is due diligence. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, what I mean by that is that you make sure you do some research, that you're responsible for your own money. Yes, using a financial professional is good. Vet them, interview them. Don't be afraid to ask them the hard questions. Don't be hesitant to ask them any question for that matter. Just remember, you're interviewing them to help you. And so asking them the hard questions is part of the process. But you've also got to realize that the media and things like that play a big role in the choices you make. I often think now that our media today is not like the news of the past where they reported the news and reported what's happening. I think now so many of them have taken it upon themselves that it's their job to shape public opinion. And so there's a lot of bias in those stories, financial or otherwise. And I'll tell you one way. Take the chairman of a big brokerage firm, and let's say they're on one of those big financial shows, and the host asks them, well, Mr. Chairman, what do you think stock market is going to do for the next 5 years? Well, his research is showing that we're probably going to have flat to down years, that the economy's not going to grow that much. But what's he going to say? Well, he's going to say, hey, things are looking good. Why? Well, if he's chairman of one of those big wirehouses and he says the market's going to be down the next 5 years, do you think he's going to be chairman of that wirehouse the next day? Probably not, because they sell optimism, and Wall Street sells optimism. They don't like to talk about down markets, but if you look at market history, they come. You have 15 to 20 years of a bear market, followed by 10, 15 or so of a bull market. It's just a cycle. It varies a little, but pretty much stays the same. Another key thing to look at today is that when it comes to the media, 90% of traditional media outlets are owned by only 6 companies. You got 6 major corporations owning 90% of the news outlets. And that's kind of scary because that's easily used to mold public opinion one way or another. So just remember that you got to do your own due diligence, and you can't always rely on the media. Often a good place to start, but use that as a reference point and then validate it. Next thing is be forward thinking. Prepare Create a retirement, pay yourself first. Give yourself 10%, give God 10%, and the rest can go to everything else. Do that first. Make sure you got a rainy day fund. And rainy day funds can vary by individual, by family situation. Keeping 3 to 6 months is a standard. If you can do more than that in readily liquid accounts that can be used for emergencies of work interruption or family health situations. Just remember this, a family health situation may not even be your health, but it could be that you're going to have to take some time off work to take care of another family member because of a situation. And that's when you're falling into that sandwich generation. And pay down debt, get rid of the debt. So invest, pay yourself first. Those are key. The next is when you're looking at investments, keep it plain vanilla. Make sure you understand what you're investing in, at least in a cursory manner. Make sure you're working with somebody you trust. Been around for a while. It's been through some market downturns. For example, I can remember when I first got in this industry in 1987, about 6 months into it is when the crash of 87 happened. And I remember sitting on the couch watching CNN and remembered I'd come from a corporate salaried management job and was wondering if I had been crazy to do what I did. And then, of course, the Federal Reserve made it liquid. And in the next few months, it was back to normal. But, watching those cycles, I've been through several, been through 87, been through the 90s when we had a couple of downturns then, although it was a overall upward. 2000, 2008, these were major downturns. So having working with advisors been through those downturns and understand what they mean, and they haven't drank the Kool-Aid that all they have to sell is eternal optimism. So remember that. Next thing is to pay attention to taxes. Just remember that. Pay attention to taxes. So as we're covering all these bits of information, and we look at what the 7 pillars of wealth, let's review that real quick. Family, you're going to play a significant role in your children, your grandchildren's life by encouraging academic achievement, financial discipline, and participation in the workforce. Get them started in the workforce early. Entrepreneurial would be great. Encourage them to figure out, what I tell my stepson is when he says, I want to buy this. I say, okay, then figure out what you can do to get it. Well, I don't know what to do. Well, what you do is you figure out what other people want and you provide it to them. And that's the basis of our capitalist economy. Use common sense, use due diligence, make sure that every decision you're making is not made from what you heard on the TV. Be forward thinking, prepare, make sure you've got retirement taken care of, rainy day fund, pay down debt. And when it comes to investing, pay yourself first. Don't get too elaborate in your investments and pay attention to taxes. If you take care of these 7 pillars of wealth, then you're going to be in a lot better shape and your retirement's going to be in a lot better shape. Again, what we're talking about here is being in control, making sure you make the right decisions based on solid information. So we're going to give this report out to the first 5 callers, 844-343-6048. A lot of firms, like I said, charge for that. So as I mentioned earlier, we're going to give this report out to the first 5 callers, 844-343-6048. That's 844-343-6048. And we'll talk to you how to get that. So I want to thank you for tuning in and look forward to talking to you again.
That's all the time we have for today. To learn more about Brad Williams Financial Services or to set up a complimentary review,
call 844-343-6048. That's 844-343-6048. 888.
Investment advisory services offered through Sound Income Strategies, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisory firm. Brad Williams Financial Services and Sound Income Strategies, LLC are not associated entities.